all the difficulty you go through that way, bring that effort into this, just being patient with them, letting them have their way. Prophet has a hadith, which again, we have this later on from many sources. This has come down to us, this teaching, that if you've got a child for the first 7 years, treat them as like a kind of king, right? Let them have their way. The next 7 years, like a kind of, what is it called? Not that everything they say. No. You treat them like what is it called? Like someone that you talk to, Like it's not that they're the king, but they're someone that you get advice from, you talk to, So same level. And then in the next 7 years, a different teaching is given, right? So the first 7 years, treat them as a king. Whatever they say, yes, that's it. Let them have their way. After that, the next 7 years, you talk to them. Okay, you want to do this. Why? What is your reasoning? Not that you force your own ideas on them. No. You start talking to them. Okay, so you want to do this. What are your thinkings? And you would be surprised of how really the children have amazing arguments, etc. Now, this hadith has been mentioned a billion times, at least I've heard it. But again, we didn't go deeper in this. First of all, why 7? Is there a particular reason? Does anything happen to the child at the age of 7? Right? Why is it divided to 3-7 years? Okay? Treat them as a king. What does that mean? How do you make the shift in the 7 years from going from the king to a kind of vizier how do you make this shift, right? There are so many questions about this hadith that we never asked. And now, I was just last month reading this amazing book by a psychologist from Chicago. God, this guy, the insights he has is incredible. There, without, by the way, any knowledge that there is such a hadith, right? He's just explaining about this idea of how when a child is born, they have a kind of inner grandiosity, okay? They genuinely believe they're the center of the world, they're the king, all of that. And they even test sometimes to make sure if you believe in the same thing or not. So for example, he says you may be at the dinner table and there's food in front of the child, but he sees there's a food on the other side of the table. For no better other reason than just testing to see if you believe they're the king or not. Say, I want that one, right? I want that one from all the way on the other side. Just to see if you also give them the confirmation that they're the king. Now, he's saying that this inner grandiosity, the way you deal with this can be the root of almost all of the psychological issues that the child may have later on. Okay? It's very interesting. He actually does a very beautiful study. He goes through the DSM, this book that has the name of all the different mental disorders, right? It's a very, like, the Bible of psychology. He goes through every single one of these and he shows how most of them go back to parents not dealing well with this inner grandiosity. And then he explains, how do you deal with this? Now, there may be some parents who may be interested in this, right? So he says, yes, definitely, this needs to be taken very seriously. You have to actually treat your child as he is, with the smaller g, the God of the universe. That's how he feels or she feels. You treat them like that. And in order to do this, the child needs to be with two parents who understand this, because this requires a lot of patience, right? And we hear this and we be like, okay, I want to do this, but then we go with our life, we go back to the same pattern. If you're a religious person, you want your child to have a religious life, like I'm talking to you personally, dear listener, and you care about your child, I want you to make this decision in your mind right now, because I know you care a lot about, you put a lot of effort into making your child a good child, right? You drive them every Sunday to the school or to Sunday school. You buy CDs for them. You talk to them. You care, and you're putting a lot of effort. Now I want you to know that the most important effort, make this decision right now. All the difficulty you go through that way, bring that effort into this, just being patient with them, letting them have their way, because they need to have this. And most people don't, right? Most people were not treated as kings in the first years of life. And then what happens if you don't treat your child like that? This inner grandiosity, this I am greatness, right, goes out of their ego and goes to their unconscious part. Okay? So they're going to have self-esteem issue because all the source of greatness they felt about themselves is gone. Is no longer in their ego. Is no longer in their personality. So it's in their unconscious. But not only they're going to have self-esteem issues, but from that unconscious, they're going to be all the time on the attacked by that. So all these perfectionist thoughts will come from their unconscious part of the mind to their mind. You're not perfect. Why? Because their unconscious is so great. All the greatness went there. So they're going to keep receiving, you're not great. And how many of us, even adults, we go through that. No matter how much successful we are, there's a voice in our head that always tells us, no, you're not great enough. You didn't do best. You know, sometimes the best thing happens in our life, and at night we want to, no, I wasn't good enough, right? Most actors, most athletes, scholars, everyone goes through. Why? The greatness has went to the unconscious, that's now attacking you.